This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, let me make sure everybody's muted. Make sure everybody's muted. Nothing gets me more excited than to see individuals who are excited and all ears about learning more about their health and how to naturally improve their health and really heal their body from the inside out. I am Robin Sullivan. I'm a Diamond Senior Ruby Ambassador with Plexus. Some of you may have been invited to this call because you are wanting to learn more about sugar and wanting to learn more about why sugar is a big deal. Big in relation to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Big is an acronym for blood sugar balance, inflammation, and gut health. And so we have a very special guest tonight. This is my childhood friend. We've known each other since we were 3 years. Well, I was 3 years old. She's a couple years older than me, probably 5. And I am super excited to be on this health journey with her. We went to college together, and she is a pharmacist and a certified diabetes care and education specialist. And her name is Dr. Cori Cooper. She's an awesome value add to our team. And so I'm just excited to have her tonight just to simply educate us about all things blood sugar. So take it away, Cori.
Hello, can y'all hear me okay? Give me a wave. Perfect. So good to see you all tonight. I'm excited to be able to connect with everyone. So the way we're going to do this, to probably make it the easiest, so normally I'm pretty informal, so you can usually interrupt me and ask me questions. But I think what I want to do tonight, just so that we make sure that we stay on time, is to either one, write your questions down. And if you don't have anything to write with, that's like tip number one on the call, is to make sure you have something to write with. But if you don't have anything to write with, you can actually put them in the chat. Just put like Q and colon in the chat before you type the question, so that way we can easily identify the questions that are in the chat. So I will save time for questions at the end, and I can either address them in the chat. If you don't want to come off mute and you don't want to ask them live, I can address them in the chat. And if I don't answer it live, then I can also always just answer the question in the chat. So have something to write with. And if not, just hit Q and colon and put your question in the chat, and that'll that'll help us keep up with the questions. And so with that, so again, I am Dr. Cori. So as Robin mentioned, I am a pharmacist and certified diabetes care and education specialist, and I've been working in diabetes for almost 20 years. And what I have found working in diabetes for almost 20 years is that there is a lot of misconceptions of what people understand about blood sugar and how that actually contributes to their health. So the 3 things I want to talk about tonight are, one, just sort of kind of level setting the understanding of blood sugar and what that means for your health, how it's related to gut health. So a lot of times when we talk about like the root cause of disease, we always refer to gut health. So we want to make that link between blood glucose and gut health. So that's point number 1. So then the second point I want to cover is around just understanding what that means from the standpoint of type 2 diabetes. In this community, there are a lot of people impacted by type 2 diabetes. And so anytime we talk about blood sugar, we have to talk about our ability to just understand how to better help people with type 2 diabetes. Because 90% of people that have pre-diabetes, so before they even get diagnosed, it's undiagnosed, right? So they don't even know that they're at risk for type 2 diabetes. So part of what we try to do is to be educated enough about type 2 diabetes so that we can then help people recognize those risks, so that we can help them before they actually transition to type 2 diabetes. So that's point number 2. So we're understanding the relationship between blood sugar and gut health. And then we're talking about pre-diabetes, diabetes, how we help to support and educate people around that. And then the third thing I want to cover tonight is the disconnect. So a lot of people are always so focused on their health. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm working out, I'm eating right, I'm on a diet." So people talk a lot about health, but we're still an obese and overweight and chronic condition filled country, right? So that means somewhere there's a disconnect. So what can we do along that journey to help kind of bridge the gap for people? So that's the third point. So those are our 3 buckets. And if I forget to talk about one, please feel free to remind me. So let's start off with just understanding blood sugar and gut health. So the thing I want you to understand about blood sugar, and I know like some people will probably be like, oh, but wait, gut health is like that's the cornerstone of all disease, and that's where disease originates from, is in the gut. But there's a relationship between blood sugar and gut health. And that relationship is if the if your microbiome, so your gut health, isn't diverse, so you don't have a lot of different types of microbes in your within your gut, that predicts how your body's going to use glucose. And so because of that interrelationship, they're actually called co-determinants. So the intestinal microbiome and your blood sugar are co-determinants. They go together when we're talking about chronic disease. And so that means that both of those two things contribute to heart disease, kidney disease, of course, type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's is actually referred to as type 3 diabetes. So all of these things have this underlying factor of dysregulation of blood sugar. So when you look at the diseases in this country that are responsible for the majority of the mortality in this country, it is driven by the dysregulation of blood sugar, because all of those things I just named can be tied back to dysregulation of blood sugar, to metabolic disease, cancer, heart disease. We know those things are killing our communities. We know that's the leading cause of death. 9 out of 10 of the leading causes of death are driven by blood sugar dysregulation. So to not talk about blood sugar is really remiss on the part of any conversation as it relates to health, because that's the foundation in helping people that's their first step, is how do I regulate my blood sugar? So that's kind of the first point I want y'all to understand around the relationship between gut health and blood sugar. They're co-determinants. They go together. You don't have good gut health, you don't have good diversity of the different bacteria in your gut, you're not going to be able to have a good metabolic response. Your body's not going to respond well to the different types of food that you eat, and it's going to predict whether or not your blood sugar goes high or low or is a more stable blood sugar. It's a predictor of your blood sugar response. So then when we think about blood sugar, we're actually thinking about and this is kind of whenever we talk about blood sugar, so let me say that. Whenever we talk about blood sugar, we always have to kind of transition to this conversation around type 2 diabetes. And a lot of times, this is what I learned in my practice when I first started. So I started my career, I did my residency in Mississippi, so in the Delta, where Mississippi was last for everything, right? So everybody had diabetes, everybody had high blood pressure, everybody had high cholesterol. I mean, so when you think about the worst health in the country, it was in Mississippi. And that's where I did my residency. And then that is the patient population I was serving. And then I transitioned to Louisiana, back to New Orleans, which is where I trained. And then I came back to work in academia and work in health centers there. Unfortunately, Louisiana and Mississippi fight for who's going to be the best in highest risk of heart, in the highest incidence of heart disease, the highest prevalence of heart disease, the highest prevalence of type 2 diabetes, highest obesity. We're battling Louisiana and Mississippi all the time. So that's where I practiced. And so every patient that came to me, everybody I saw in my early career was under the assumption that, well, my daddy had it, grandma had it, everybody had type 2 diabetes. And so that must mean that I'm going to get it too. And so they automatically started from this place of feeling like it doesn't matter what I eat, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm going to get type 2 diabetes anyway. And that's actually not true. And that's why it's so important that we really help people and intervene on the front end, because we can actually change the trajectory of people's health. We can empower people to change the trajectory of their health. People have the ability to change their legacy and what that looks like. So the thing about these communities where I was practicing in Mississippi and Louisiana is these are places where typically we're talking. This is what you would call underserved communities. So they don't have ready access to a lot of different grocery stores. So they don't have access to healthy food. So you'll hear people say, "Well, it costs too much to eat healthy. I don't have access to those foods in my community. You hear people talk about, and so in these underserved areas, there's McDonald's, there's all the fast food restaurants tend to be concentrated in those areas. Walmart tends to be concentrated in that area, and so that's where people are going, right, to get their groceries. They're going to Walmart because they're like, there are some. I used to support a clinic in Alabama, and they're like, we don't have a Whole Foods. We've never even heard of Whole Foods, right? So these people are saying that I can't have this lifestyle that you're trying to help me to obtain because I don't have access to it. And so that's part of the thing that we have to change is the mindset around what people actually have access to. But in addition to that, you have to change the mindset around their ability to change what their health looks like. This whole concept is called epigenetics. So when you hear the word epigenetics, what it's really saying is the genes are present in your health, in your body for type 2 diabetes, for heart disease, for cancer. They're there. You have the family history. We're saying those genes are there, but you have to turn them on. They're not automatically turned on. That is what we've learned in epigenetics that says the foods that we eat, the environment that we live in, the stress that we're under. There's a whole lot of women on this call, so not neglecting the men on the call. There's a whole lot of women on this call, and a lot of times we've got the second shift. So not only do we get up and go to work, but we still got to come home and take care of the house, take care of the family. And then a lot of us on this call are also running our own businesses. So we have a full-time job, we have a family we're responsible for, and we have a business. So all of these things are contributing to turning those genes on. So when you don't get the sleep that you need, when you don't drink the water that you need, when you decide, I don't have time to cook, so I'm gonna run to Chick-fil-A real quick and get something for the family, or I'm gonna stop at this, your favorite local takeout spot to pick up something for your family, all you're doing is creating this environment for those genes to be active, and you're putting yourself at risk for conditions that are not necessarily part of what your legacy is supposed to look like. And so it's so important that when we think about these different chronic diseases, these different health conditions, that we recognize that we're empowered to change them and to make a difference. So when we think, so in particular for type 2 diabetes, what I want you to understand about type 2 diabetes, aside from the fact is it doesn't mean that you have to have it just because your family did. I also want you to understand who's at risk for type 2 diabetes. Because a lot of people think that if I don't have it in my family history, then I'm not at risk. The only person not at risk for type 2 diabetes, just based on their, and they probably are, but based upon their race and their weight, is a normal weight white female. That's the only person not at risk for type 2 diabetes. So if you are in any part of a community of color, you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, and that's whether you're overweight or not. And if you're a white male, that means you're at risk for type 2 diabetes. A lot of times we get caught up in that, oh, this is a disease of the Black community because it's a lifestyle disease and we aren't doing the things we need to do for our lifestyles. But that's not what this is about, because we all have access to be, like I said, it's epigenetics. We don't have to turn that gene on. But we get caught up in this mindset of being told that things are healthy and that certain foods are only for certain people, and that the only way I can access health, and that, or if I can't access health because it's too expensive. We're given all these messages that put us in a place to just accept what we think we should be, what our life trajectory should look like, right? What the legacy of our health should look like. Bottom line is type 2 diabetes is just the abnormal metabolism of carbohydrate. So it doesn't mean you ate too many sweets growing up. It doesn't mean that, like I said, it doesn't mean because daddy had it that you get type 2 diabetes. It just means your body has an abnormal ability to handle carbohydrate. So then you have to do things to help it have a better response to carbohydrates. So if, for example, and I want you to think broadly about this, because I think that's the other thing about type 2 diabetes is we get in this box of what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like overweight. It's supposed to look like obesity or physical inactivity. But there are women who struggle to get pregnant, blood sugar dysregulation. There are women who they're like, my cycle's not regular, blood sugar dysregulation, insulin resistance, risk factors for type 2 diabetes. Those things are linked. And a lot of that actually comes from our lifestyle. And so that's why it's extremely important when we think about how we talk to people about type 2 diabetes is we don't put it in a box and we don't link it to specifically foods that we eat. I'm going to tell you about some of the healthy foods that people talk about that are like, and some y'all will be shocked probably to know some things about some of the healthy foods that people educate you on to say, oh, if you have high blood pressure, you should eat this. Or, oh, if you have type 2 diabetes, this is good for you. How many of you have been told to eat Honey Nut Cheerios? Like someone said, Honey Nut Cheerios are good for you. Raise your hands and, just I can see some of y'all, okay? Honey Nut Cheerios. I mean, is that not the commercial? Like it's all about health. Do you know that Honey Nut Cheerios is the second most impactful food to causing the greatest increase in your blood sugar after one serving? This is like next to candy, but it's a healthy food. That's how it's marketed to us. And this is important because you have to understand that, and this is the type of information that you need to be getting and trying to look behind those messages and behind the marketing to really see. That's why when we do our challenges, we talk about preparing your own food, like cooking at home, eating food that you have prepared. Essentially, if you're eating something out of a box, it's not going to be the best food source for you. I don't care what they put on the box. Another example, have y'all seen these like ketogenic cookies? Like everybody's on this keto diet and they're like, oh, I'm gonna get the ketogenic cookies so I can still have my cookies. And they eat them by the dozens. The impact to your blood sugar of a ketogenic cookie is the same as a cinnamon roll. So how about you just go get the Cinnabon instead of the ketogenic cookie? It's the exact same. And these numbers come from 51 million data points out of Stanford. So this is not, Dr. Corey's pulling this, out of some little small study of 14 people. Stanford has this big registry of 51 million people who they wear continuous glucose monitors all the time, all day, and so they monitor the different foods that they eat, and they actually can show their doctor the impact of that food on their blood sugar. 51 million people are in this registry. 51 million. And the foods they're telling us are healthy are the equivalent of a Cinnabon. So you thought you were doing good when you had your Cheerios for breakfast, but you might as well have had a Pop-Tart. You might as well have had a bagel because it's about the same. And that's the thing that we really need people to understand about blood sugar is that when we want a blood sugar, we want a stable blood sugar. And stable blood sugar means that it's like rolling hills. Like all day, you just want your blood sugar to have these little peaks and come back down, little peaks and come back down. It's the variability in blood sugar that causes type 2 diabetes. So when your blood sugar shoots way up here because you had the Honey Nut Cheerios because you thought that was good for you for breakfast, it gets a lot harder to get back down to this baseline. So if you do this over time, these big peaks, these big changes in blood sugar, that is actually what your body eventually says, okay, I can't keep up. So it just starts to raise your threshold. So instead of your threshold being right here, well, your body's like, I can't get back down there anymore. So I'm just going to raise the threshold here. And when you raise that threshold, you're increasing that blood glucose number, and you're increasing that's the number that we're checking to see whether or not you have type 2 diabetes, whether or not you're at risk for type 2 diabetes. And that's why, so I'm going to transition here to this disconnect. So I told you I want to talk about the gap. So here's the thing with the gap is a lot of people say they want to be healthy. When you look at survey data, 50% of people, when they complete a survey, the American survey data, say that they're on a diet or they're exercising or they're doing something to lose weight and improve their health. And yet there's 72% overweight and obesity in the country. What happened? There's a disconnect. And the reason why there's a disconnect is because people don't know what to do along the way to bridge that gap. And so for me, that's why I think supplementation is really important. And that's why I really love the way the products are brought together within Plexus. So some of you are already taking Plexus. Some of you are here to learn, what should I take? How should I take Plexus? And that's the key thing of when we talk about supplementation. I like to think of supplements as the support for my body when I don't take care of myself, when I don't get enough sleep, when I don't have time to work out, when I used to travel like all the time for my job. And so when I was on a plane every other day, when I was running between airports, when I was going out, I was only eating out because I was traveling, so I wasn't at home. So when I couldn't take care of myself, because that's not an optimal way to take care of myself, I use supplements to help fill in that gap. And so we have to be able to step away from this idea that, well, supplements are just about weight loss, or supplements are just about, like that supplements get a bad rap. Well, yeah, not every supplement is great, which is why some supplements are more expensive than others. I mean, everybody, so I'll give you a quick example, a purse, and I might be dating myself. I don't know if Liz Claiborne makes purses anymore. But so say you had a Liz Claiborne purse. I don't know. They still make purses. Dooney and Burke, that was a thing when I was in high school. So you have your Liz Claiborne or your Dooney and Burke. And then you've got Louis Vuitton and Gucci. They're both purses, but it's the quality of the materials that go into making them. So it's the same thing with vitamins. There's a $2 bushel of vitamin C and there's a $200 bushel of vitamin C. So if I want high quality vitamins, then I'm probably paying a $200 bushel for my vitamin C versus the $2 bushel. And so you have to decide what's more important to you, the purse or being able to be completely healthy and fully well in my body so that I can thrive for all the people that I take care of all day, all the people that I show up for, my family, your spouse, your kids, some of you are taking care of your parents, taking care of, and then some of you have like multiple kids. I mean, I have one. I don't know how people have like 3, 4, and 5. I mean, so if you can't show up, if you can't take care of yourself and invest in yourself and invest in your health, then you're not going to be there. You're not going to be able to do any of the things that you want to do for all these other people. And so, perfect example. And I always say, I'm looking around for my slim because I want to make sure I talk about the specific products that I think are most relevant to what we're talking about as it relates to blood sugar tonight and specifically gut health. But one of the things that I think about too when I think about when I hear people talk to me about wanting to do better in their health and wanting to live healthy, I want J-Lo's abs. They're great. She's, I don't know, 50, whatever. I want J-Lo's abs. I'm not really willing to do what it takes to get J-Lo's abs, right? So there are certain limitations to what I can expect in my health journey because I'm not willing to do what it takes to get J-Lo's abs. So I want you to be just as equally honest with yourself. So you may not want J-Lo's abs. You might just want to get off blood sugar medication. You might just want to, lose 5 pounds, whatever the case may be. But something has to happen for you to get from point A to point B. And the supplementation to me is what helps you to do that. And I want to point out the Slim tonight because I think the way that Plexus put their products together is so intuitive and so and just so much further ahead than any other supplement company that I really think it's important that you understand that. And I never stay on time. And I told, right, it was so funny because Robin, I was like, Robin, I don't know. I may not be able to fill the time and I'm about to go over, but I'm gonna be good. So, um, but I do want to say that when you think about your Slim, I want you to really, and I always say this, everybody should be on Slim. If you're not on Slim, then, I don't talk to whoever invited you to this call because you need to be on Slim and it needs to be the foundation of the products that you take because Slim is a prebiotic. And the key things I want you to understand about blood sugar and gut health is you need a prebiotic, you need a probiotic, and you need postbiotics. Probiotics are like the only thing people ever talk about. But there's the prebiotic that feeds the probiotic so that it gets the food that it needs to be able to survive. Because if you don't feed the good bacteria, if the good bacteria get sugar and processed food, they're not good. They're not going to be good bacteria. So you can take all the probiotic in the world, but if you're feeding it poorly, and I like to use the example of gremlins, if you pour water on, and again, I'm dating myself, if you pour water on the little cute little furry animals, they become the gremlin. So same thing with your good bacteria. You don't give it what it needs. You don't give it the prebiotic fibers. It's going to be the gremlin, and it's going to wreak havoc in your intestinal system. So you need the prebiotic to feed the probiotic. But here's the thing: you need postbiotics. Postbiotics are the byproduct of this of the probiotic. And the way you get and Plexus was so nice to us and said, "Look, I know that you're going to need my help to break down to have enzymes to break down this fiber because our body cannot handle fiber. That's why when you take it, you're like, oh my God, I'm bloated, I got gas, I'm uncomfortable. Because we don't have the enzymes we need to really break down fiber. We only have 17 enzymes to break down these different fibers. The microbes on our body have thousands. So it's easy for those microbes and we have microbes all over, inside, outside, they're everywhere. So it's easy for them to be able to break down these fibers. They have what they need to do it. We don't. So Plexus was kind enough to put it in the probiotic. You have enzymes in your probiotic. You have enzymes in the protein shakes because Plexus says, look, you only got 17 enzymes. And there's a whole lot of fiber that you're going to need to break down to actually get the benefit from it. And this is what I mean by supplementation. When you can't take care of yourself, supplementation helps to bridge the journey. That's the difference with the disconnect. That's why there's 50% of people saying, I want to be healthy, and 72% are still overweight and obese because you're missing the bridge. You're missing the steps along the way to get to the end result. So I'm like over. I'm not over quite yet. I think I have 1 minute, but I do want to take questions. So that's why I want to pause here. And I want to, if you feel free to come off mute, and I'm happy to address some questions. I know there's been some in the chat,
I'm
but
gonna I'm gonna start from the bottom and go up.
okay.
Adrian, I had a question. She said, "How do diabetic meds work different than these supplements?"
So in some cases they do, in some cases they don't, right? So like if you look at, so there's two different types of Slim. So there is Slim microbiome activating, and then there's the Slim hunger control. So Slim hunger control has the addition of chromium, and chromium kind of acts like there's a diabetes medication that we use called sulfonylurea. So the sulfonylurea is going to squeeze the pancreas to help get insulin out of the pancreas so that we are able to pull more glucose into the cells, because insulin is the way to get the blood sugar, to get sugar out of the blood and into the cells. You need insulin for that. It's like a lock and key. So sulfonylureas are squeezing that pancreas to get more insulin out. Chromium actually does the same thing, not as intensely as a sulfonylurea does. So an example of a sulfonylurea might be glipizide. So that's a common diabetes medication that's used, glipizide. So chromium actually does a similar thing. It helps to increase insulin secretion. So it's not, again, not as aggressively, but it still does the same thing. So this is not a supplement, but for example, exercise. if you eat right after a meal, so say you, I don't know, you didn't even eat a good meal. You had Chick-fil-A. And I'm not picking on Chick-fil-A. I mean, there's tons of fast food restaurants I could pick on, but I just happen to, I don't really like any of the other ones. That's why I'm saying Chick-fil-A. But if you have a fast food meal, doesn't have to be a good meal. You have a fast food meal and your blood sugar is going to shoot up. If
Mm.
you immediately walk after having had that meal, you can drop your blood sugar by over 30 milligrams per deciliter. So you can help your body get back to where it was before that blood sugar got elevated from that meal simply by walking. So a lot of times what we do with medications for type 2 diabetes is we build in that mechanism. So there's a couple of
Mm.
medications that I call like exercise in a pill, because essentially what that medication is doing is trying to mimic for you what exercise would do for your body. So um, hopefully that answers. So how does it work different than the supplements? In some cases, it's the same. And again, so I will add this. That goes back to my statement of supplements take care of you when you don't take care of yourself. So the supplements are giving you the nutrients that your body needs to perform optimally. And the great part about Plexus is Plexus uses is plant-based supplements. So when you look at the power of plants actually has been shown to reduce blood pressure, to lower cholesterol, and to reverse type 2 diabetes. So when you couple the medicinal properties that combining some of these supplements might offer, in addition to a healthy lifestyle, you're actually mimicking what some of the medications try to do. But supplements do it in a proactive way, giving your body what it needs to be able to heal and repair on its own. Whereas medications don't do that. They're just they're a band-aid. I'll use that as an example. Medications are a band-aid.
Okay. So Elnita asked, so is the important thing how our food impacts our glycemic rate or index? Is it on a chart?
So there is a glycemic index, and so there are certain foods. So I think I, sorry, I just saw somebody's message that said they just got through eating Chick-fil-A. But so there is a glycemic index. It's harder, it's not as readily available in the US to be able to know exactly whether foods are high glycemic versus low glycemic. So in other countries, they actually put the glycemic load and the glycemic index on the package, so it's part of the nutrition label. That's not part of the nutrition label in the US. But yes, so there are foods. So for example, any naked carbohydrate. So when I say naked carbohydrate, that means there's nothing in it but carbs. So there's no fiber, there's no fat, there's no protein. Anything like that is going to cause a higher spike in your blood sugar. So that's why doctors will say, well, don't eat bananas or don't eat, oranges or that kind of thing. Um, because those tend to have higher concentrations of carbohydrate. But technically, that's not really, it's not really the banana and the orange that they're trying to steer you from. It's more like the Skittles and the candy and that sort of thing. Like Skittles, for example, is nothing but sugar, right? And so that's a naked carb. So whenever you think about foods, the way you control glycemic index is you always partner carbohydrate with protein, fat, and fiber. So you
Got
can
it.
always bring down the glycemic index.
Got it. Um, Another question, what is a healthy blood sugar level?
So it depends on the person, but in general, the level that's going to keep you out of the range for prediabetes is less than 100.
Got it. What are your views regarding eating according to your blood type?
I think it works for some people. I don't think it works for everybody, but it does work for some people. And that's the thing that that you also want to make sure that you understand is that when you can't look to the left and to the right of you and assume that the types of foods and the way of eating is going to be, is so if this works for that person, it's going to work for me too. Because not only do we have the blood type or eating for your blood type, we metabolize differently. So even if you eat for your blood type, within that blood type, there are still different metabolizers. Some people metabolize carbohydrate better than protein, so it varies. But I do like eating for your blood type.
Got it. This has been a wealth of information. We are not quite done. We have, first of all, thank you, Dr. Cori. This was incredible. We could probably listen to you for a whole hour and a half straight with no testimonies, no me closing the call out. But for the sake of time, I am going to have one of our awesome ambassadors share her testimony. Her name is Effie. Effie Davis. I think I saw her originally in the beginning. I'm trying to see where she is now. Oh, there you are, Effie. Okay. I'm going to unmute you now, dear. And I want you to share with us your health journey with Plexus.
Hi, my name is Effie. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 1999, and I have been on medication since. I started Plexus in September. Wendy Hicks introduced me to it, and I've been taking it. And I went to the doctor like 3 months later, and my blood sugar level, my A1C was 10.0 when I started, and like 3 to 4 months later, it is down to 7.0. I have also over the years have had to take insulin, and I no longer have to take insulin now. I started taking the medicine to lose weight. Anything that could help me lose weight, I would try. But I found out that this product works. It just takes a little time. And with me changing some things and changing my eating habits, I'm not only don't take insulin, but I was 235 pounds. I'm now 202 pounds. And my doctor is amazed.
What an amazing blessing. And so, Effie, you started the product, you said, in September of 2021.
Yes. Yes.
And when did your doctor take you off insulin?
No, he didn't take me off until like about 5 months within, when he started noticing that my blood sugars were stabilizing. And actually the insulin was causing me to be sick.
Okay. So just recently, like February, because September to February is 5 months. So like
Right.
just a week ago he did it, or?
No, it's been about 2 months now.
Oh, okay. So 3 months, after 3 months.
Yeah, about 3 months, yes.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So tell us, what exact products are you taking, and when are you taking?
I'm taking the hunger control and the triplex. I take it in the morning and in the evening, and I drink my mixed my drink here every day, every morning, before I even take any medications or eat any food. I take this like 30 minutes before. And I've got myself on a regimen where I eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. So that's been helping out a lot.
Absolutely. So you take your Slim Hunger Control just one a day, correct, Effie?
Right. Right.
And how many BioCleanse and how many ProBio 5 do you take?
I take 2 of each in the morning and 2 in the evening.
Okay, so 2 BioCleanse in the morning and 2 BioCleanse in the evening, and 2 ProBio 5 in the morning and 2 ProBio 5 in the evening?
Right.
Okay, so 4 total of each one.
Right.
Got it. Okay. And have you been on 4 ProBio 5 and 4 BioCleanse pretty much the whole time, or no?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much all the time.
Absolutely incredible. Well, we are so happy for you. What an
Thank you.
incredible blessing to have received all of these health wins in such a short period of time. I mean, September was just 4 or 5 months ago. So thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
Effie. Okay, so if you were invited to this call by a friend or someone who cares about you and your personal health, I really want to invite you guys to take a look at some more extensive training that we'll be getting throughout the month of February and going into March from Dr. Cori. We're running a Love Yourself Big Challenge, where we'll be talking more about, in this 30-day challenge, about blood sugar balance, inflammation, and gut health. We start the challenge on February 21st, and the challenge will go through March the 19th. I'm really excited about seeing a lot of you in this challenge, really working together to become more educated about these 3 root causes of a lot of people's health issues in this country, but also just to have the support and accountability that we all need to make some of these healthy lifestyle changes. I cannot thank you enough, Dr. Cori, for all the information you have given us tonight. It was truly a masterclass. Can't wait to have you back educating us even more. So if you are on the call tonight and you have not yet made a decision about moving forward with Plexus, I really, really highly recommend that you get back with the person who invited you to this call. If you're listening to the recording, do the same. And we are excited about seeing you guys in our challenge starting February 20th. So you guys have an amazing night. And thank you again, Cori and Effie. We appreciate you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.